Song of Songs is a beautiful love song. It tells the story of the lover who seeks out his bride, the beloved whose heart is captured by the king, by King Solomon himself. She takes delight in his love for her. And as she is loved by him, learns to appreciate and to take delight in the beauty, her own beauty, which he has bestowed upon her. And we've seen how Song of Songs can be both applied to relationships between husbands and wives, as it describes courtship, as it describes marriage, showing that sensual, erotic, sexual love is not a bad thing, not a dirty secret, but is good within the context of marriage. But we've also seen that Song of Songs is first and foremost about God and his love for his people, about Christ and his bride, the church. That if Ephesians 5 teaches husbands to love their wives and wives to let them, then the song shows how Christ loves his bride, the church, loves you and me, and we, the church, you and I, are to allow him to love us. That's what God's grace is all about. That's what the gospel is all about. That's what our response, that's what our praise, our worship is all about. Our praise and worship is about allowing God to love us and enjoying, delighting in that love so that we love him and return our love to him in praise and appreciation for the one who has captured our hearts. Now the song tells a story. The story of courtship between the king and this young woman who is out there working in the vineyards. And so, like any other story, as well as the high points in the story, there's the challenges, there's the danger, there's the need for rescue and saving as well. There's the danger of rival loves. So we talked about the timing of love being important. In chapter 2 and verse 7. The woman says, "Young woman of Jerusalem, I charge you by the gazelles and the wild does of the field, do not stir up or awaken love until the appropriate time." And that refrain is repeated in chapter 3, verse 5. "Young women of Jerusalem, I charge you by the gazelles and the wild does of the field, do not stir up or awaken love until the appropriate time." So we're going to look at chapter 3 and chapter 4 today. I'd encourage you to take a bit of time to sit down and read those chapters. In chapter 3, after there's been this plea to catch the foxes, another intruder, another danger, another rival seeking destruction. Chapter 3 begins with these words, "In my bed at night I sought the one I love. I sought him but did not find him. I will arise now and go about the city, through the streets and the plazas. I will seek the one I love. I sought him but did not find him. The guards go about the city found me. I asked them, have you seen the one I love? I just passed them when I found the one I love. I held on to him and would not let him go until I brought him to my mother's house, to the chamber of the one who conceived me." And then she says, "Young women of Jerusalem, I charge you by the gazelles and the wild does of the field, do not stir up or awaken love until the appropriate time." That sense that this is the appropriate time. Now is the right time. Here, the danger is that sense of absence. The king is absent, it seems, from the bridal chamber. Here is this young woman, and she is looking for him. Well, why? Well, there's that sense of time that this is not the right time. Maybe this is a throwback to the days before before the marriage? Or maybe it's the king is out and about on his business, going to war, going about his duties, that he's been called out. She misses him, she longs for him. By the way, there is meant to be that longing in our hearts for Christ, and that desire for him, to know his closeness. And if you do not yet know Jesus, if you've not put your trust in him, there will be always in your heart that sense of absence, that something vital, that someone vital is missing. There can be times in our lives as believers, I mentioned on day one, that there can be that feeling of dryness, even in our own busyness. Can feel distant. And sometimes it can be about what we have done, how we've behaved, our thoughts, our actions. Satan will tempt you to despair. Satan will want you to think that Jesus doesn't love you, that he has left you alone. But actually our feelings, our emotions can be challenging us. If we feel distant from God, if we feel that we're not close to him, that could be our hearts, our consciences warning us. And so we're to put those feelings in the context of Romans 8 verse 1. There is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Jesus will not desert you. Jesus will not let go of you. Jesus will not stop loving you. I believe that once we are saved, we are kept safe in Christ. But if I am prioritizing other things, if I'm allowing other agendas to take hold, if I'm not cultivating my relationship with Jesus, if I'm allowing sin and temptation to get a hold of my heart, then I will feel distant from him. The purpose of that feeling, that emotion, is to draw me back to him. And so the beloved goes seeking. She can't find him. But there would have been danger out in the city. She's asking, where is he? Then she finds him. They return home, and then here is the focus. Here is Solomon. A narrator now speaks, verse 6 to 11, and says, it's okay, the king is arriving with his soldiers. He's back from battle. He's been about his business, defeating the enemy. And he's brought in a carriage made for himself, a sedan or the like, being carried in. And here, resting on a bed in the sedan, is the king coming. It's a place of love. And again, that suggestion that here is a place where his bride can come to him. They can be united in that exclusive, private, and safe place. And then chapter 4, again, there's the repetition of that intimacy. How beautiful you are, my darling. How very beautiful. Behind your veil, a veil that would mean that she is exclusively for him to see. Your eyes are like doves, your hair is like a flock of goats streaming down Mount Gilead. Now, this is not the sort of the imagery, the metaphors that we would use in Western poetry, but we can grasp this, can't we? The sense of the playfulness and the leaping of a herd of goats, the movement, the life. Your hair is full of volume and life and beauty. Eyes like doves, the wide-eyed brightness. Teeth as white as wool. Your lips are like a scarlet cord, your mouth is lovely. Verse 2, your teeth, each one bearing twins, and none has lost its young. That's beautiful imagery. We can get that. We feel very sensitive about our mouths and our appearance of our mouths and our teeth, don't we? I know a few friends and family that have had to have a tooth removed because it's been decaying and damaged and broken. And feel very sensitive. Will this affect my appearance? Is it visible when I open my mouth? I've pretty much got all of my teeth, but some of them are in better nick than others, and quite a few of them have been filled. I've got one which is more filling than tooth. And the original dentist used the white filling, but I'm not sure it's as strong as sturdy, so I've now got that grey stuff. I'm not a dentist, I can't even remember the technical term for it. So it's a big blob of grey in my mouth, and it doesn't look great. It's reasonably out of sight. No, we care about having a full set of teeth, don't we? He looks at her and he says, you are perfect. You are beautiful. Everything is in place. You are attractive. Taking delight in her physical beauty. As we've said before, there is just something in the song in terms of saying it is good to recognise and acknowledge physical beauty. It is good and right that husbands are physically attracted to their wives. It is natural for young men to be drawn to beauty. It is natural for young girls to be drawn to physical strength and to consider a young man handsome. All of that, if it draws you into the right context of a loving marriage so that love is not awakened before its time, is good. And so we've got this description continuing. As I said, he describes all of her. Your breasts are like two fawns, twins of gazelles that feed until the day breaks. I will make my way to the mountain of myrrh and the hill of frankincense. He takes delight in her. Husbands and wives are to enjoy each other. You are absolutely beautiful, my darling. There is no imperfection in you. So the king has arrived. He takes delight in his bride. He brings her to his carriage, to his sedan, to his place. And there they are safe. That's the place for intimacy. Then he says, come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Here, describing the location where he's found her, invites her to come to be with him. Coming from outside, from Lebanon, from outside God's kingdom, the place of covenant, and drawing her into the place of covenant, safety, and refuge. And now, chapter 4, verse 9 says this: you have captured my heart, my sister, my bride. You have captured my heart with one glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your neck. I wanted to just draw our attention to that, because we talk often about being captivated by Christ, attracted to him, drawn to him, about him capturing our hearts. But notice this: bride has captured the heart of the bridegroom. So the church, you and I, us together, we have captured the heart of Jesus. We are precious to him. He takes great delight in us. He loves us. He values us. I've just been reading a couple of comments on Twitter this morning about the parables of the lost sheep and the lost coin. Now, people sometimes talk about the shepherd going to find the sheep, leaving 99 behind to go and find the one, or the woman who has her 9 coins and goes and finds the one that's missing. And sometimes the emphasis is on something that is even described as reckless, whether or not you like that language. It may not be the best language, but something that seems extravagant. Why is he leaving the 99 behind? Why doesn't he settle for the 99? And some people, some of the hearers would have thought, what a foolish, silly shepherd. He should have looked after the ones that he had. But in fact, as someone commented on Twitter, if he's got 100 sheep, that's not a large flock, and that one sheep will have had great value to him. Similarly, the woman with her necklace, probably the equivalent of a wedding ring, a bridal necklace of coins that would have gone around her head. Of great value. And actually, it lost its value, it lost its purpose if it wasn't complete. So that one coin had great value. The lost sheep and the lost coin, in one sense, may seem like foolish stories, but in another sense, what we're meant to hear is, what would you expect the shepherd to do? What would you expect the woman to do? Of course they will go after the lost sheep, the lost coin. What would you expect Jesus to do? He chooses to lavish love on us. He chooses to find value in us. And so he chooses to seek us out and to draw us close to himself. And so he's the groom taking delight in the bride. And I want to keep coming back to that. Jesus chooses to delight in his church. And that is so important. However we feel about the church, however we feel about the failings of our own local church we've been part of, however we feel about when particular leaders have messed up, however we feel when we read about national and international scandals, it's important to keep coming back to this. Christ loves, treasures, and values his bride. The church is important. We shouldn't lose sight of that. And as part of the church, that means you and I are loved. Again, just get that sense of it. You and I, as the church, have captured his heart. And it may be that you have learnt that you are of no value, that you are of no wealth, no worth. That you feel that others look on you and they despise you. That you feel that you are forgotten about. That you've suffered persecution. That people have been mean and bullying towards you. But Jesus loves you with great love and takes delight in you. He won't ignore you, he won't desert you, he won't mock you. He doesn't crush the broken reed, he doesn't snuff out the flickering flame. Chapter 4, verse 12, my sister, my bride, you are a locked garden and a sealed spring. Your branches are a paradise of pomegranates with choicest fruits, henna with nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with all the trees of frankincense, myrrh and aloes, with all the best spices. You are a garden spring, a well of flowing water streaming from Lebanon. So again, notice just the way that the language drips with beauty and imagery, with richness, with sweetness, with fragrance. This is sensual language. And again, sensual language describing the love, the exclusive love of husband for wife is good and right and proper and necessary. Don't shun away from it. But again, that sense of this is Christ's love for us. This is why Christ died on the cross, for us, to bring us back from the dead, to forgive us our sin, to cleanse us, to make us beautiful, so that we reflect his glory. And here is the intimacy. My sister, my bride, you are a locked garden. And because this beauty and this intimacy is precious and sacred and valued, there's protection there. That love will not be awakened until the right time. Back to chapter 2 and chapter 3 and that refrain. In terms of human relationships, sexual intimacy is exclusive to marriage, because that's where it is meant to happen. So virginity is to be protected until marriage. So faithfulness, so that within the marriage, that faithful, intimate, close, exclusive marriage relationship is to be protected, that all of the intimacy happens within the protection of walls and doors that lock, in the protection of the king's palace or the king's carriage, the soldiers on the outside to protect from danger and interruption. A reminder again of why sex belongs in marriage, why marriage is important. Why faithfulness is important. Why it is crucial that a woman should feel safe and not in danger with a man. Not in danger that he will desert her, and not in danger that he will abuse his power, his relationship with her, that he won't do her harm, that he won't allow others to do her harm. That is crucial. It means that physical relationships, but also deep and intimate conversations when we bare our souls, need something, a wall around them to protect them. In marriage, it is the commitment that you have made to each other. It's the covenant, the vows, where you have made a commitment to be exclusive and faithful to one another. In life and in death, in comfort and in joy and in danger, through all the changing scenes of life, that there's a faithfulness there. For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, till death do us part. The bride and the groom say to each other, we're not letting anyone else into this relationship, and we're not looking for a way out. We are committed. It's safe. That means that you can face the hard times in a relationship. You can face the struggles of life. You can face the pressures because you know that you are walled in. I think that this means in terms of wider church life, this has implications. Sometimes I think some of us are We're tempted to go anywhere and everywhere looking for advice, looking for spiritual guidance and spiritual leadership, and so we will listen to anyone, anything. I would always encourage people, if they're seeking pastoral advice, to go back to the elders, the leaders, the pastors in their home church. That's why we encourage people to be members of a church, so that there's a sense of commitment in, that you are walled in, that there's a sense of faithfulness, there's a sense of protection, there's a sense of looking out for each other, so that you can bear your soul, so that you can be honest. Nobody's going to give up on you, desert you, turn their back on you. Nobody's going to exploit your weaknesses and vulnerabilities, that you are safe there. So, marriage and the responsibility of husband's headship is about provision and protection. But we are talking about the church. Christ is the one who provides and protects. We find safety and shelter in him, in the gospel. How do I know if there's danger? Is someone adding or taking away from the gospel? Are they adding to grace or subtracting from grace? Are they putting the emphasis on what I've got to do, or on how I need to be dependent on them? Or are they keeping my eyes focused on Jesus and his grace? Intimacy is possible when there is safety and protection, and if we want that intimacy with Jesus, to know him close, then we need to ensure that the protection is in place, the protection of good Bible teaching, the protection of a local church where there is accountability. Where responsible elders seek to provide and protect for the church. See, because I'm committed to Jesus. I'm trusting him. I believe that he will protect me. And so I let him. I believe that he will love me. And so I let him.